Hey guys, HuShang here. Welcome to another Starcraft 2 lesson. In this guide, we're not going to be going over anything too specific, but I have a macro game here between myself and Vibes offrace. Originally I was going to do a lot of talking about the early game and how you can stay safe in PvP, but I don't have too many games where I can give examples, and I kind of want to give it a lot of examples for that kind of video. So I'm looking for some Masters players. If you're a Masters player and you're Protoss, then message me on Discord and hopefully I can get quite a few Masters players and we can do quite a few different cheese defenses, and then I can do a video on that. But anyways, in this game I'm opening up with, it's fairly standard. It's a little bit off because I'm going double stalker, and Vibes going 2 stalker into stalker sentry. The Vibe is being a little, he's not scouting as much as I am, so I've taken a little bit of a lead already because I know that he's expanded and he doesn't know that I've expanded, so I've managed to get a few extra probes here and also get my forge on the way a little quicker. And this is one of the main things you want to be focusing on in PvP. I get a lot of questions actually on YouTube about what you should be focusing on the matchup, and in general in StarCraft you want to focus more on building probes rather than tech. So I'm trying to get as many probes as I can with Chrono Boost, and then I only add on my tech when I can afford it outside of that. So I was able to Chrono probes and get this forge, not get the forge instead of probes. So I'm doing a scout here. This scout timing is to see if he's doing any sort of 2-base all-in. Maybe something like Robo Twilight 4-gate, that kind of thing. But, you know, we see him warping in a couple of units, and we see that he's got the Twilight. We also see that he's got quite a few probes here. So I'm not super worried about him all-inning, and I know that I have the +1 lead. So we're actually pretty far ahead right now. I'm finally warping in up to 4 stalker, so we've really delayed our warp-ins, and this is one of the main ways you can get ahead in PvP, is realize what your opponent's doing and then take advantage of that by not making as many units as you might need to if they're attacking. Obviously if they did like a 4-gate or something, I'd be super dead here, but he's not doing a 4-gate, so we don't need to be worried about that. And the new meta in PvP is to be going into fast stalker with blink. So maybe 2 months ago, or maybe a little more than that, everybody was going charge at Archon on 2-base and then into a 3rd. And because of the new shield battery buff, you can get away with stalker's sentry if you want. I think you can also do the charge at Archon. I'm not sure which one's better still, but yeah, this is the one most GMs are doing nowadays. So grab the 3rd base. I'm doing a little bit of a safety check here with these adepts. You can do it with the Phoenix as well, but I'm just checking to see if he's going for some sort of all-in. And if he was doing that all-in, then I would pause pro production also at 2-base and just spam units, just so we're safe there. But he's not actually doing that. He's expanded, and so I can, freely probe up here. I can get my +2. I'm not super worried. These adepts get some nice damage, which is sweet. And I also see these gases, which is pretty weird, but I'm not expecting him to be going mass chargeless or anything just yet. I think he's just trying to get more probes out while making stalkers. So I'm gonna keep scouting, but I wasn't super worried at the time. And on my side, I'm just going up to 6 gates, which is pretty safe. Like if you want to make stalker of 3-base full saturation, I think you can do that with 6 almost. Maybe 7. But I'm transitioning over from blink stalkers into charge at Archon, or at least that was the plan. And so I'm going up to 8 gates. You could go maybe 10 if you want to fully saturate. And then, yeah, I wanted to play this fairly aggressive because I feel like I'm pretty far ahead with the +1 and the +2 now. But I also wanted to take this to a macro game so I could give some examples of how to play macro game. I can't remember exactly which direction I take this. But he's taking up into Robo Bay, and I can see that he's got quite a few stalkers. 16. I know that he's doing this off a pretty low gateway count, so it's not actually that worrying. I think I have a little bit less than him, but if he does move across, I can just insta-warp in 6 or 8 stalkers, and then I'd be back at the same amount as him, which is why I think you don't really want to be constantly warping in like he is, because the person that powers, like the person that makes more buildings and then doesn't make units as quickly, generally can get ahead in econ. Unless you're like really using this constant production like Puck would do, or sorry, Nina. So if you're doing it like Nina, then you would constantly pressure with these stalkers if you're continuously warping them in, and then you can get some value out of that. But Vibe's not doing that, so I think it's just not as strong. So anyways, I go for a Dark Shrine here, and I'm moving out with these stalkers. So he's starting to get a little bit of a tech lead in terms of him getting like Colossus. I still have the upgrade lead. So I'm pressuring him here a bit. I kind of mistimed this quite a bit. I should have got the Dark Shrine a lot earlier if I wanted to do this, but it's not finished, so this is kind of just like a one-sided push, which is not really that strong. So we trade a little bit. He does actually a pretty good job defending. I think I had a little more stalker, but I'm coming out about even. So I grab my 4th, and I'm adding on my Robobay and Robotech so we can play a macro game. I think if I forced this, I probably would have won, but I want to practice some Disruptors, so we took a 4th anyways. And I'm going to go for 4DT, and then I'm just going to kind of distract him on one side while they fly in. And then drop them on the mineral line. DTs are incredibly strong in PvP. Because you can make cannons, but if you make too many cannons in PvP early on, you can see that I only have 1 per base. And if you make too many cannons early on in PvP, you really hurt your stalker production, or your probing, or one of these things that cost a lot of minerals. And in order to stop 4DTs, you need like 3 cannons. So it's quite a big investment. It's like 900, or what is that? 600 per base. So if you wanted to make it on all your bases, you need so much money. Sorry, 450 per base. So really, really expensive to do that. And so you kind of have to defend with observers and stalkers, which is difficult. So if you're struggling in PvP, you should definitely try out DT drops, especially if you can combine it with something like this, where I'm just showing him my army, making him focus over here, and then coming in with the DTs. So these are going to do pretty good. I suppose I could have went for these pylons, actually. I'm not sure if I would have got those in time, but that could have been something I did. Now, he did catch my stalkers here, so this is probably evening out the game more than it is making an advantage. I think he killed like 6 stalkers or something, so maybe the DTs did a little better, but not too much better. And yeah, behind this, we're getting our Disruptors. We're getting up to 8 gas. I think he's kind of got away with murder in this game, actually. I think I should have punished him quite a bit harder for his play, but yeah, we got into like a pretty nice position where it's fairly even. And so from here, I'm gonna have to outplay him with positioning and stuff like that. So I'm just gonna make basically mass disruptor stalker, and I'm gonna try to put on some pressure and see if we can try to edge out a base lead is my goal. Now his game plan is making Colossus here. I guess he's expecting me to go into Charge at Archon, because I think Disruptors are quite a bit stronger if your opponent's not doing that. And then he's going into Carrier. Like, I don't think this holds if I really commit to an attack here. If I just go Mass Stalker Disruptor, I don't think you can hold with this type of composition. So you should eventually get your own Disruptors in the mid game. Now here we get a nice hit. Kind of lucky. So that puts us ahead again. And I'm going to grab my 5th, and then you can see over here, I have a shield battery for cannon, so that if he does any sort of like mass DT run by, we'll be able to hold that. And I should also maybe do that on these other bases as well, but again, it's kind of a really tricky part in PvP, because if you do end up making all those cannons, you can't afford to have as big of an army, and it gets very tricky. So you also kind of need to make extra obs and use those as well. So instead I grab my 5th, we're getting shield upgrades, and I'm going to try and distract him as much as I can. So one thing with Disruptors is that you need a lot of attention to deal with them. And since he's not also playing Disruptors, I'm going to have more attention than him, which means I can kind of abuse that and keep him really preoccupied by just shooting Disruptors all the time, even if they're not doing anything. Like, I guarantee you, him playing, he's having to focus a lot here, which is why I can start doing annoying shit like this with lots of DTs. And the DTs are also something that you need a lot of attention to deal with, so if I can kind of just like keep shooting Disruptors and sending DTs over here, it's going to be really hard for him to defend that, which is why it's super popular in the PvP meta right now. Now probably I didn't send enough there. They ended up dying, so I warped in like 8 more. And here you can see me, I'm going to be shooting quite a few here, since my DTs are just about to go in. And yeah, now he's really preoccupied. I don't even think he's noticed yet the DTs, because he's still microing his army, which is really hard to do if you're dealing with DTs. So he probably hasn't noticed. And then now the attention's let up. Probably right here is when he realized, oh fuck, my whole base is dead. Now he's going into carriers, which can be pretty tricky to play against. And here's another thing you can do with Disruptors is you can't really push into Disruptors, you can only keep them back. So if I can get into a position where I can go to a base and take it out, and he has to chase me, then it's really difficult for him to get a good engagement. Like you'll see here, I'm kind of leveraging him having to run after me. These stalkers got caught because of a warp in over here, but yeah, I'm just shooting like 1 ball at a time and making sure he has to back up. And then that gives me time to pick off this Nexus. And of course, the DTs in the meantime we're doing pretty solid as well. So yeah, so we pick off a base. Maybe not perfect execution. You can see like resource-wise it wasn't super great. Maybe I should have saved the DTs or something. But a couple little successful attacks. And now he has a pretty large army, so he's counterattacking me. But we have a decent position here, so it's not too easy for him to push in. Maybe if he had committed more to gateways or something, he could have warped in a lot here and counterattacked. It would have been difficult. But since he's going into carriers, it's a little difficult here. I think he should have just chilled, actually, and re-expanded with how he's playing. I think whenever you play like these high-tech style games, you need to be very cautious when you push out, because if you commit too long, then the army supply switches super fast. And I think if he sat back here, even though he took a lot of damage and just retook a 4th, that amount of army supply would let him get into carriers a lot easier, so he probably would have done well. But he didn't do that, so we have a big army supply lead, and we can counterattack. And as long as we don't let him get too many carriers and Disruptors, then it's going to be pretty difficult for him to stabilize here and max out. Yeah, a couple more DTs. This matchup, this may feel gimmicky, but this matchup's pretty gimmicky, so you just got to embrace it. So we distract him a little bit, we come in here, snipe the Nexus, and this isn't the first time he's seen the carriers, but we can see he's really committing to that here. So my game plan now is to keep up the pressure with Stalkers. You could build another counter like Tempest, but if I go Tempest, then we're going to have to play a really passive game. And I'm up 2 bases. These ones aren't mining yet. So it feels a lot stronger to just keep pushing the Stalkers and try to end the game quickly. So that's what I'm going to do here is just keep warping in and eventually push him once we max out. We also could go into Archons, but the downside of the Archons is that you have to fight the Interceptors, so you can't really just go like 2 Archons. You have to like really commit to Archons. And what I was worried about is him going into Carrier and Disruptor, and that's a lot harder to micro against if you're making Archons. So if this game went on long enough, I might have done that, or Tempest, but in this case we know that he can't really afford too many carriers, so we can probably just keep making Stalkers and that'll work. Now he tries to move out here because he lost his base and he's feeling pretty behind, but I think even in this position where you're super behind, you should still turtle, because if I'm stuck on this mass stalker composition, even if I go something like Archons, it's pretty difficult for me to ever afford something that can actually kill the carrier. So I think even in this position, if you're playing carry, you should just really turtle hard. Sniped his Disruptor, which was pretty big. I think that's kind of what he was banking on, is getting a huge Disruptor hit. And if you're playing Stalker against Carrier, you always want to target the carriers one at a time. If you go for the Interceptors, you're definitely going to lose this fight, but if you target the carriers, then you should be able to win. And if you're playing Archon, then you just A-move, because the Archons will naturally target the Interceptors, and they're much better at killing those. So, alright, cool. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this game. Again, I do want to go over some really in-depth early game PvP, which I think is something a lot of people would like to see. So if you're interested in that, subscribe to the channel, and I'll hopefully be posting that soon. And if you're a Masters player and you want to help me out, then join the Discord channel and shoot me a message, and yeah, hopefully I can get a bunch of games against players with different all-ins and show you guys how to defend. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like it, and I will see you in the next one.